Well, I'm in my office and I have some film that's ready to be scanned. Thought I'd show you what one of my originals looks like framed. And I want to show you my equipment. My printer is an Epson Stylus Pro 3800, and it will do large paper, 17 inches wide, and basically as long as you want to make it, because it will accept a roll of paper if you'd like to print that way. Now this one I bought new, but I wouldn't be afraid to buy a used one if it was refurbished by the right people. I have a monitor here at my desk, and the other piece of equipment that you will need is a scanner. Now this one is an Epson also, and this is a V750 Pro it's called, and it works well for film, and it has carriers for the film that will hold it on the bed of the scanner. There are some scanners that are just designed specifically for film only, and they're a little bit smaller, which might be a good option, but if you want a scanner that's got a lot of capabilities, this was a good choice. That I bought used, and it has worked out quite well. Aside from that, you may need a little bit of software, but the scanning software comes with the scanner. There are a lot of great software programs out there. Apple does a great job. I like Adobe personally, just because I'm used to it. And so, what do? I've got my film. Now where do we go from there? Okay, I got my film back, and I have one of the exposures that I'm going to load, and I'm going to drop it in to the film holder. I'll try to be steady with this, and the scanner reads it from below, so when I put it in, it's going to be reversed to my view, but it'll read correctly for the scanner. And it fits right into its 4x5 spot, and then it has this to clip in place to retain it, hold it flat. It just snaps together. It'll hold two exposures, two pieces of 4x5, but I'm just going to do the one right at the moment. I'm going to take that, and this will drop into a couple of holes on the side of the scanner bed to get it registered in the right position. Then, having the scanner warm up, I'm ready to go. So I'll initiate the software and I'll show you the process on screen. Alright, I've got my scanner open. The software is called Epson Scan, and there's a few settings here that I need to put right before I begin, and one is document type. In this case it's film with a film holder, and the film type is positive film. They have choices of color negative or black and white negative. This is positive. It's like slide film. It's transparency. And for the image, I've got a 48-bit color and 1200 DPI. So it's going to produce a really large file. And the file type is going to be a TIFF. As far as adjustments, I don't use any because I don't really need anything manipulated. If you've got a good photo there, you don't need a unsharp mask or grain reduction or any of these controls. So I can live without it. I haven't found a use for those. Now, the first maneuver is a preview, so you make sure you know what you're going to have framed, and your scanner's warming up. And you can probably hear it in the background. Now, here come the kitties. What next? Alright, there's my preview, and I can size this or just draw a box around the area that I want to scan, and I don't need to be right on the image. I go a little bit outside of it, there's no problem. I can crop this afterward. Alright, I've got that ready to go, and now I'll hit the scan, and it's telling me where it's going to be saved on my computer, and it will be a TIFF document. And I'm just going to go, I'm saving it to my desktop. So I'd better select that. There we go. And I'm going to hit OK there. And I won't make you endure this time during the scanning process because it takes 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, I just opened Photoshop to bring in my TIFF file, and I'll open that, which I had saved on the desktop. And see if I can enlarge this a little bit. I wanted to show the detail that is produced by using this method. And if you look closely at this paper, you can see that it is sharp without any enhancement all the way up. Well, I don't know what size this would be, but it would be gigantic. And the camera is pretty phenomenal. Oop. The detail that's achieved with it is really cool. So initially, when I opened my TIFF file, it was a little thin or just a little light, and I'll show you what that looks like. You can see it just, the midtones are just a little bit faint. And how do I know? Well, I've got my original and I compare the two. And this is the only adjustment that I would make, would be to create a layer, an adjustment layer for levels, and that brings me to this. And with this, you can darken the midtones or play with the brightest whites or the darkest shadows. So I had already completed this once, so I'm going to get rid of that layer and apply the layer that I did before, and it's just exactly like what I just showed you. I made a slight adjustment to the midtones and did not change colors whatsoever. I'm not increasing saturation. I'm not working with contrast. Strictly that one adjustment is about all I do, because I want it to be as much like the original as I can possibly make it. And so I'm very happy with that. So from here now I can save this as a Photoshop document or any file type that I want. But since I'm printing out of Photoshop, I keep it in their format. And of course you need to size it for the type of print you want to do. And I have already sized it, and I size it for a 16 by 20. And let me see if I have that here, which I believe I do. We're opening it now. So I converted it from this TIFF file, and all I did was save it as a Photoshop file. But I keep the TIFF files for everything I do, the original scans. And so here it is. And this is sized for a print that will work in a 16 by 20 matte. So actually this print is 11 by 15. The actual size of the image is 11 by 15. Well, beyond that, when you print with the equipment I have, you need to make a few adjustments with your printer, with the software here. Make sure you're on the right printer. Print settings for this, and we're going to choose the one that I use typically, and that is what I call Moab, because the kind of paper I'm using is a 300 weight Moab Entrada paper, and I've always used that kind of paper. The settings here: watercolor paper, radiant white, quality of the print, the size, etc. Is all selected. Everybody's familiar with sizing their paper for a printer, I'm pretty sure. And once I have all of that, then I could look here at the color handling, and Photoshop is going to manage the color. I never rely on the printer for that. I want Photoshop to manage the color. And then you have a printer profile, and I'm using Moab Entrada Natural, and that is a printing profile that's free. You can download that from Moab, or actually a lot of sources. And so this shows you how it's going to appear on the paper, and this is the paper that was cut to 13 by 17. Remember, this image size is actually 11 by 15. So when I get to this point, I want to make sure I look at the print preview, and then from there it's just matter of printing, and I rely on my printer for that. I've been pretty happy with the results, and I'll show you what that looks like. So this shows the results of my printing, and this is the first one. I'm not sure that the camera is totally accurate in terms of color interpretation here, but I was very pleased, and I compared this to the original, and I'm pretty sure this is as close as I could ever get. It makes me happy because I will be making limited edition prints from this. So I just wanted to have a word about editions here. I think it's important to plan for the total number that you're going to be comfortable with, and very important to stick to it. You don't want to devalue your work by reopening with a new edition later on and devaluing your work in doing so. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know and I'll get back to you. I realize there's a lot of equipment involved here, but I think you'll be really pleased if you have your own means for printing yourself and you take control of that part of the process. So until next time, adios.